The OCVarsity Top 150, one of the most anticipated lists we have heading into the football season. Which one of these kids was number one? Hello, I'm Jonathan Khamis with the Orange County Register. I'm being joined by our football writer, Dan Albano. Dan made the list of the top 150, only Dan. We trust his opinion that much. I'm sure it took you a lot of time there, Dan. Dan, there can only be one. Who was number one in the OCVarsity Top 150 list?
Well, Jonathan, after a lot of film watching, getting out to some passing league, looking at all the results from last season and talking to a lot of coaches, and the number one guy is KJ Costello, quarterback at Santa Margarita. So he's the number one guy, Stanford commit, set 11 school records last year. He's got the experience, he's got the great arm, he's he's 6'4", got the build, he's got some talent around him, especially on the offense at the receiver position with the transfer receiver Dylan Crawford. He's got a good offensive line. I think KJ is going to be just about unstoppable this year. If he gets any amount of protection, Jonathan, he could put up some monster numbers.
But he had some stiff competition behind him, Dan. Who are some of those kids rounding out the top five?
Well, number two is Devon Motster, quarterback at Tesoro.
Very different style quarterback.
Yeah, Devon's a dual threat. He's coming back with a world of experience, another 3-year starter. Got a lot of receivers. I think Devon's going to do just outstanding this year. Number three, Dylan Crawford, highly touted recruit from, it looks like a lot of Pac-12 schools after him. National type recruit at wide receivers, a transfer from La Cañada, St. Francis. He's at Santa Margarita now. Best receiver, senior, I think, out there. Speedy, fast, great hands, very polished, and he has great chemistry with KJ Costello. These guys know each other. I think they're really gonna light it up. Number four, Jonathan, Eric Barriere, the outstanding quarterback, uncommitted quarterback from La Habra, most exciting player in the county for my money. You capture a lot of his highlights, Jonathan. Sometimes he's
I'll
down.
agree with you on that.
Hey, sometimes he looks like he's gonna be tackled. He comes out of a pile. Yeah. He can throw it, he can run it. Number five, Curtis Robinson, outside linebacker, Stanford commit from Mater Dei. He's outstanding. This top 50 list, it's not a recruiting list. It's guys that I think are going to have the best years, best high school years, not who's the recruited the highest, who's going to do the best. These guys are projecting to be the all-county type guys, put up big stats. I think Garrett White's going to have a big year.
Thanks for reiterating that, Dan. Explaining the process of the top 150. I'm not arguing with your top 10, Dan, but who are some players when constructing the list you thought, you looked down and you said, this player may or may not make it, but ended up being on the list, surprised you some? Who are some of those players?
It's a good question. One guy that I did not know as well, and I loved watching his highlight, was Brett Nealon. Is going to be the left tackle, a junior at Santa Margarita. I watched his highlight film last year on Huddle, and I would recommend to any kid out there, and I'm sure tons of them are doing it, most of them are, but you got to have a Huddle video. And that certainly was very valuable to me. Watched Brett's highlight video. Unbelievable, the kind of blocks and the physicality that he had as a sophomore, Jonathan. He's going to be really good. That's KJ's blind side. I think a guy who's going to be really valuable is, Tustin quarterback, Alima Pilmai. I think he's going to have a real big year. I think he's super valuable to Tustin, who I think is going to be real good. He was number 20. I watched some video of Tucker Scott, the offensive left tackle at San Clemente, who's going to be dynamite this year. Okay. Tucker Scott's outstanding, committed to Utah. He does a lot of great things on video. Maybe he's not as high as some of these other linemen as far as the recruiting, but I think he's a great player.
As you can tell, Dan Albano really knows his stuff. We're not messing around here at OCVarsity.com. And for all of your latest football information, make sure to check out OCVarsity.com. That's where we've got you covered. Thanks for watching.